G'day guys, welcome back to Riffo's Garage. Today we're going to do a full rundown video on my 1993 Holden Rodeo. It started life as a 4-cylinder automatic 4ZE1. It is now being converted into a 5.7 litre LS1 with a T56 transmission. So let's go have a look at it. This video is basically to cover all the work that's happened. It's gonna cover the engine, transmission, suspension, brakes, cooling system, fuel system, interior, body, and anything else I can think of while I'm here. So let's not waste any time and let's go check it out. So the question I get asked the most is, what engine mounts did I use? These engine mounts are just a generic eBay version of an LS1 engine mount. I then got a mate to make up mating plates that would suit the Rodeo mounting bolts so that nothing had to get changed there. So it just bolts up nicely to the engine as far forward as the mounts would allow and the firewall would allow, and then just make up a mating plate for the Rodeo side of the engine bay. Second thing is you will need to run a rear hump sump. This is just a Holly knockoff sump that I had to use. What that does is clears the cross member. So the original LS1 sump, the hump is at the front. It will hit the cross member, so I had to change that out so that it clears. Also run an Aeroflow dipstick. You can't run standard LS1 dipsticks with these sumps, so ran an Aeroflow dipstick, all mounted up. It goes runs between the exhaust. It has your heat shielding and everything on it, so hopefully that stays protected. Third thing I did to make room up the front is I ran 6 litre accessories, so water pump, tensioner, alternator, power steering. They are all from a 6 litre, and what that does is it gives you an extra couple of inches in the front end for large radiator, thermofans, piping, intake. Another thing I worked out is the exhaust. You cannot use a standard LS1 exhaust. It will basically, where it drops down on your exhaust manifold, it will either hit your steering or your cross member or your upper control arms. So I had to run, correct me if I'm wrong, but I had to run LSA, I believe, exhaust manifolds. Basically your manifold goes the whole way along your collectors, and then at the rear is where your exhaust dumps. I'll try and get some video of it. So as you can see, your exhaust goes down, and then right at the rear is where it dumps, whereas originally your exhaust would have dumped here, which is that's your upper control arm. So that was the reason that had to work on the passenger side. And then on the driver's side, as you can see, you've got steering, you've got up control arms. So same thing, it just dumps out the back. You can't see, but that was just another thing I had to do to make the engine fit, basically. So what's that, 3-4 main things you will probably need to do if you plan on doing this conversion without cutting your firewall up. So that was another thing. I didn't want to go cutting the firewall. I still wanted to keep that as stock as possible. So as I said, this is still a stock LS1 engine. I have taken the covers off and I have taken the front end off just to add a few other bits and pieces, make it a bit flash. It's not required, but I was there already. I wanted to have a quick look inside and see how everything looks. So some of the things I have changed are, let me get my list. It has a Rollmaster dual timing chain. That's not required, but I figured while I was there, change the timing chain. And to run the dual chain, I also ran Aeroflow timing covers. It just gives the chain clearance. From what I've heard, you can't run the dual chain with a standard front cover, so I changed that while I was there. Aeroflow cooler neck, so As you can see down the bottom here, that just allows you to change the angle of your coolant hose for your lower radiator hose. So I changed that while I was there. Everything has ARP bolts that I've pulled off. So the exhaust ARP bolts, intake manifold ARP bolts, all the front covers ARP bolts. What else have I had off? All your timing chain ARP bolts, your crank pulley ARP bolt, K&N air filter. As you can see, there is not much room between your radiator and your intake manifold. So at the moment, that's what I'm running. No MAF sensor, obviously, no room for a MAF sensor to go. Long-term goal would be to have a mid-rise or a high-rise intake manifold, which would hopefully clear that radiator anyway, and then it would allow me to put in a better intake system on this thing. So, but for now, we're just going to stick with the pod filter on the throttle body and go from there. I've also run Aeroflow fuel rails, Aeroflow throttle cable, Aeroflow catch can, Aeroflow power steering reservoir, Aeroflow fittings, and just some standard Iridium plugs and 8.5 millimeter leads, standard coils. I have had to make a couple of brackets for the driver side coil packs because, as you can see, it would hit the clutch master cylinder. So I've just made some brackets to shift the coil packs over toward the middle of the engine. So that was another thing I had to do. While I had the front cover off, I also changed the oil pump to a melling oil pump, standard flow, standard pressure, just to get that upgraded again while I was in there. Didn't want it failing on startup or after a couple of Ks of running it. So while I was in there, upgraded the timing chain, upgraded the oil pump, and I believe that's everything I did to the engine. So standard LS1, as I said, for now. And then some of the modifications I've done already are just supporting mods for bigger power in the future. Transmission, I'm running a 6-speed T56 manual transmission, just an extreme performance clutch, nothing special about the clutch or anything. I have run HEL braided clutch lines and clutch line to the clutch cylinder, and then a bleed line from them as well. What I had to do is just use the standard Rodeo reservoir, and then I've used an adapter to suit that hose. So blade that up yesterday, feels good, everything's working as it should, no leaks yet. Fingers crossed it stays that way. For the clutch system as well, what I ended up doing was using the standard Rodeo clutch master cylinder, taking it to a brake shop and getting them to bore out the guts of that clutch master cylinder to the same size as a Commodore, so that the pressure and everything still felt the same. Whether that's right or wrong, not sure. I really didn't want to have everything running and then go to drive it and it not run, so not engage properly. So I've done that as well. So for the fuel system, I decided to ditch the standard Rodeo fuel tank and ran with an Aeroflow 75 litre fuel cell in the tray, as you can see. Goddamn. Basically, instead of just bolting that cell to the tray because nothing wanted to line up for me, what I had to do was I made these feet that basically fit on the hump of the tray, so that will just help locate the fuel cell a bit better, just centralize it a bit more, and then those feet will be just welded to the tub, fuel cell bolted to those feet. I'm running a single fuel pump Walbro. I think it's a just let me double check, I wrote all this down so I didn't mislead anyone. So just a single Walbro fuel pump internally. The beauty of these fuel cells is the hanger that hangs inside. You can actually run 3 fuel pumps if needed. We'll see what the future brings, whether I need 1, 2 or 3 pumps, potentially 2, 3, I highly doubt it. So the fuel system from your fuel tank runs through an Aeroflow fuel filter underneath, -8 fuel line all the way to your fuel rail, through your filter all the way to the fuel rail, As I mentioned, Aeroflow fuel rails, and then over to a TurboSmart fuel pressure regulator 2000, which is good for decent power. I have dash 8 running to the fuel rail, dash 8 going through the fuel rail, and then dash 6 to the fuel pressure regulator and back to the tank. So just nice and simple, nothing over the top about that. Hopefully good for 500, 600, 700 horsepower in the future if required. Again, I did a lot of this stuff thinking about the future so that I wasn't redoing everything twice, 3 times, waste of money. So that's why I've done that. For the cooling system, I ended up running a 180SX radiator. The reason I went with it is it fit. I've made some top mounts for it, made a bottom bracket for it and everything. So it came with dual thermofans as well. I've got a funny suspicion they're going to need to be upgraded, but however, for now they're in there. I'll see how it runs and drives and how the cooling system handles it. Apart from that, it's just a standard LS cooling system, top hose to your water pump, bottom hose to your radiator. And then for the steam pipe, I have an adapter, basically what you would use for a cooling temp sensor. Run an angle barb to your steam lines, steam vents, whatever you want to call them. So hopefully I have no issues with getting air in the system there. Hopefully it bleeds properly. Cooling system, check. Intake system, check. Fuel system, check. Transmission, check. ECU. The ECU I decided to go with was a Holley Terminator X. Simple, quite straightforward to install. Everything's labelled, everything's very easy. So as you can see, still in the process of making the harness look good. However, it is all in there, plugged in, and then all pushed through the firewall already, ready to mount the ECU and wire the ECU up. So fingers crossed that goes smoothly. A couple of things I still have to finish in the engine bay is power steering. I still need to plumb the LS1 power steering pump to the Holden Rodeo power steering box. I'm going to keep it a power steering box for now. See what the future brings, whether it gets upgraded to a rack or not. Still need to plumb in the catch can, so it's just going to be a simple valve cover to the Aeroflow catch can, just one hose each valve cover. Right or wrong, unsure, please let me know in the comments if there's a better way to do it. There's not going to be aircon. Power steering, catch can. I think that's everything left in the engine bay. So while we're here, we may as well cover the body of the Rodeo. So space cab, already mentioned. The tub is from a later model TF Rodeo, so trying to shave some panels on it. And the tailgate handle, that's just the mini truck lover in me. So later model tub, doors have also been shaved. Nice and fancy. For the tub, I have some MU guards that I plan on welding in the future. Front end also has the MU guards fitted. Nice and wide. Let you fit a nice, decent wheel and tyre setup in there. A lot of the mini trucker guys would recognise that. This is a 93, so I also think that this front end on it is from a later model Rodeo as well. So I don't really think fit up works, and quite personally I like the Frontierer look on these Rodeos anyway, so that's probably the direction I'll go. But for now, this is what I have. I do have some later model doors to get rid of the quarter panel window without having aircon. Those things are probably better to have than the cleaner look with the side mirrors where that glass is, but again, we'll see what the future brings. So along with the later model tub and front end, I've also gone ahead and put in a later model dash. Easier said than done. If you plan on doing this job, make sure you take everything from the firewall to the dash basically. You're going to need all the newer brackets, bracing, everything. Just take everything. If you're at a wreckers, take it all. Saves you going back and forwards. So so I've got the upgraded dash. At the moment I'm running a couple of filthy R32 GDR seats. If anyone is looking for a set of R32 GDR seats in average condition, average but savable condition, hit me up in the comments or send me a message on Instagram, Griffo's Garage. I plan on going to like a Recaro racing seat style or a Sparco racing seat style, something that's ADR approved, nice and comfy to sit in, to drive around in. So that's the plan for that. That's the interior, quite basic, quite a big mess. Trying to just sort out wiring and everything before I go and make it look pretty. So let's take it up, have a look underneath, eh? Going up. So I'll just grab a light so I can show you how these engine mounts are done. You can see engine mount, standard LS1. For some reason ARP only gives you 6 engine mount bolts, and I'm unsure about why they do that. And then just a plate welded to the other side of the bracket with holes that suit the Rodeo. So simple as that. Both sides work good. It's in there nice and sturdy, plenty of clearance, cross member, and as you can see underneath there's plenty of room for their belts and everything. So standard Holden Rodeo steering box for now. Still keeping the alternator as a low mount. One thing I did do with the alternator is, because I'm running aftermarket ECU, I ended up running a VT alternator. They're just a 2-pin plug. Basically you have your exciter wire from your ignition, and then you have a signal out to a light, as opposed to your later model Commodore alternators, which plugs into your ECU and then your ECU puts out you know, whether your alternator's not charging and your ignition signal. So so I did that, ran a VT alternator. What else while we're under here? Mount for the gearbox. Just a simple mount attaches to the gearbox, and then a simple bracket that mounts through the standard Rodeo cross member. So that's all I've done there. Sorry. So just to confirm, the mounting of the engine, the mounting of the transmission was all done by a good mate of mine, Ben Gupp, who owns Ground Up Motorsports. So I got him to mount the engine and gearbox properly, because I genuinely wasn't confident doing that myself. Everything else has been done by me. So I've plumbed all the fuel system in, all the front end of it has been done by me, all the accessories have been done by me. I've gone through the front brakes, currently running 5-stud conversion. Another thing I get asked about a lot is 5-stud conversions on Rodeos. So you can find an old Mitsubishi L300 van, the hubs will bolt straight on to your Rodeo. Bearings and everything same size, straight on your stub axle. So go find an old L300, Express van, use your front hubs, and then what I've done is I've used FPV rotors, which are 322mm rotors, FPV calipers, and then I've also got some brackets made up for the calipers. I'll just get my torch again. Brackets made up again for the calipers to suit the front hubs, and then mounted the calipers to that. So I've done that on both sides, obviously. So the front end brakes are done. The front end suspension, I currently have QA1 coilovers in them. I'm not going to lie, these weren't thought about when me and a mate put them in. We basically just mounted some top mounts in, mounted some bottom mounts in, where we were happy they sat, and it's been like that since then. So that was probably done 7 or 8 years ago. No, it'd be longer than that. So that was probably done 10 years ago. We put those coilovers in, and I have not been back to readdress them. So they have not been put in properly. However, I did drive on them when they were installed. Didn't seem to have any issues. Definitely made it sit a bit lower. But I'm not going to go into details about coilovers for the front end, mainly because I personally believe it's not done right. So as you can see, fuel hoses through the tray, feed with aeroflow filter and bracket, and then just through the chassis rails, on some mounts, zip tied together, and then nice and close to the exhaust. Another thing I've got to address. So just when you think you get one thing done, there's something else to do. So yeah. So I'm currently in the process of wiring everything in. So as you can see, I've started wiring in the alternator. It's done, wired in. Basically piggyback the alternator off the starter motor, and then it will come down to, sorry, there's wires everywhere. I've just been toying with ideas. It will come down to basically a junction box, which is what the battery will feed to, and then it'll be the junction box will have the starter motor on it. It will have the fuse box on it. It will have the ECU on it. So that's currently what I'm sitting at the moment. Sometimes when I do something, I'm not sure how I'm going to go about doing it. So I'll toy with some ideas, and then I'll sleep on it, and then if I'm still happy with the idea, basically next time I'm in the shed, I'll go straight to that job and get it done while it's still fresh in my mind. So as for the rear end, at the moment there is basically just an old Hilux rear end which has had a disc brake conversion started on it, and short term this isn't going to work. So what my plan is to go to a wrecker's or someone who's wrecking an old Hilux, basically pull the whole rear end out of it, leaf springs, shockies, diff center, axles, brakes, basically from left to right, so I can just bolt it in. So I'll have working brakes, handbrake, a diff that doesn't leak. Putting that in will get me roadworthy. You know, the rear end will be done, handbrakes, everything will be as it should be. And then long term will be a true track diff center, and then probably 3/7 diff gears, and probably still run with the disc brake conversion, but just to get the car off the hoist and driving, it will go back to being drum brakes in the rear, along with a true track LSD in the rear end. I also have a setup for a 4-link and coilovers, which is long-term plan for this thing. However, doing that job is not going to get the engine running. So main priority at the moment is get the engine running. Short-term plan is to basically just get it running, driving, engineered, roadworthy, and just drive it, because it's been way too long. This is something I've been working on for the last, I'd like to say 6 or 7 years. It's been off the street since, I saw an old rego sticker on it before, so it's been off the streets since, you might not be able to see it, 29th of September 2015 is when this was last registered. So you probably can't even see it, but it still has its old rego sticker there. That's how long it's been since I've driven this thing, 10 years, and a lot has changed in 10 years. So I just want to get this thing up and running and driving. So this is it. This is my 1993 TF Space Cab Rodeo. LS1 engine, T56 gearbox, a 5-stud conversion in the front end, Falcon brakes in the front end, QA1 coilovers in the front end. And hopefully the next video will be me attempting to start this for you guys. So might be 2 weeks, might be 2 months, but I'm so close to starting it up. The main reason I haven't been filming any content on this build is basically because a lot of it has been just sitting and working out how I want to do something, and then finally going ahead and doing it, and then moving on to the next thing. So it's not like everything has been in a structured, okay, I'll do this and then I'll do this and then I'll do this. It's been a lot of thinking back and forth, how I want to do stuff, and then finally doing it, and then before I can even grab the camera, job's done and I'm moving on to the next thing. So I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that like that content of you know, someone talking about ideas and how they're going to do something, but unfortunately I haven't had enough experience with this kind of thing. This is, you know, my first big build, I would call it, and I would much prefer to focus on getting the job done right than getting the job half done and then film some content with it and then post half-assed videos. As always, thanks for stopping in, watching my videos. Griffo's Garage on Instagram, Griffo's Garage on Facebook. I'm gonna start a Facebook page and start posting links to content there as well. So if you're more of a Facebook person, head over and like that page as well. If you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by, watching my videos. I really appreciate it. If you're an existing subscriber, you know I appreciate each and every one of you. And until next time, thanks for stopping in. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers, bye. Damn, you purty.